you're doing right now is so important. Whatever we're doing right now is so important because when this is all over, 1 year's time, 2 years time, in anthropology, will look back and discover these are the documents that they will
Yes.
need of the YouTube.
Yes.
Tell us, or read to us went on in your mind and what was the conversations that went on among you
Yes.
people,
So
friends or
I will
family.
talk about the conversation my family had.
Okay,
Before I go into this, I
yeah.
remember coming home after work, after going to the gym, and my parents going straight to a Costco, which is like a bulk wholesale store where
Of
you can
course,
buy a
yeah,
lot of stuff.
yeah.
And my brother, they came up with a plan on who was going to go to what store and what essentials we needed. And they were going to divide. Someone's going to try to buy paper, someone's going to try to buy water, someone's going to buy food, emergency kits, because I am also in an area where earthquakes are very plausible. So we were preparing for everything. And we had come up with that plan, and I have a grandmother who is at risk, and she's seen people running in and out of the house, bringing in groceries, bringing in different supplies, and reorganizing our living situation so we could fit everything that we were gonna get, which we didn't buy a lot of stuff of, but it felt like it was a lot because we only buy what we needed on a week-to-week basis, and at that point we had to buy maybe a month's worth of stuff just to be safe. And I stayed at home because I knew how terrifying it was. I got overwhelmed by the rushing back and forth. So I stayed home to keep my grandmother at ease. My brother, my sister, and my parents went on their own separate ways to go grocery shopping. And everything was overwhelming and terrifying. The things that were going in my mind, and I had written it down
Yeah,
somewhere.
write it down, and read it out.
What I said is, let me see. I'm not one to freak out very easily or to get sick. I tend to worry of other people getting sick, and previously played video games where the possibility of a plague happening was really funny. But I'm okay with people dying, and I am okay with the entire race of humanity kind of dying because sometimes it's our own time. But right now, I am terrified. I am scared of the panic that the humanity is causing, and I am scared of the press exaggerating everything. I am also scared of the lack of information that we have, the over exaggeration. There is nothing. I am afraid of every single little thing that is posted online, and it is only a virus. It's not about politics. It's not about healthcare. It's not about all the other things that matter. But I can't remember when the news of the wildfires have stopped. So when have these fires stopped? Because at that moment there were also fires in a certain area. So the news is constantly providing so much information, and that it was overwhelming, that it was terrifying. It's hard to remember when things were when they stopped being talked about. And I also stated that I am scared of humanity, and I am scared of what little power humans have, and how blinded they are, and how blindfolded they are. Schools are closing down as though they haven't been affected. My school is open, but I think they're going to close. I'm scared because I have to live with people who don't leave their house. I'm not that scared, but I am worried, and I am just terrified that the wave of humanity will come over us, and I don't even want to leave my house. I just want to stay at home because I don't want to see the panic. I can't handle it. I just can't. And that's how I ended it. That was absolutely terrifying. And I think initially I recorded myself saying that in a voice thing, and I was crying. I was crying when I wrote
Can
that.
we
And I
have one of
listened.
your clips?
I don't have it now.
No,
I
let
don't
you
have it right now.
to me. I mean, that is really a document.
Yeah.
No, that is something because you actually took the effort to actually
Mm-hmm.
write down because it really affected you
Yeah.
so much, and you are actually contributing to this document of history. And
I
you know, if
think
you do look back, maybe that the emotion is going up and going down, right? Tell us a
yes.
little bit about this wave of emotions, like the uncertainty, the anxiety, the kind of getting
Yep.
calm, and then
I
it came
think
back
it was
again. Tell
just,
us.
it's very interesting. It is a wave of emotions going up and down. It is a roller coaster of emotions, and the stresses that happen and the people you're able to talk to about it. I remember coming home and just crying to my mom and telling her, I'm scared for you. I know you're going to be at home, but I'm scared for you because I don't want to lose you. I'm terrified of that. And I get overly emotional very easily that I'm tearing up right now, which is okay. But it's that terror, that fear of possibly losing someone was really strong.
Thank you so much. Calm down, girl. You're okay. I just want to share with you. I'm in Singapore. I went through almost the same feeling, and I got a friend, and I documented some of my calls with my friends in Europe. They went through the same thing.
Yes.
I'm not sure how men handle it because my husband doesn't seem to have that kind. But me and my girlfriends go through the same thing in different parts of the world. The kind of fear by
Yep.
looking at the numbers because I'm a numbers person. And I think the only thing that came out concretely was numbers.
Yes.
I mean, the
Yep.
news was there. And I think, I'm not quite sure about your country. Just to share a little bit with you, is like in my country, I think there's control of information and control of the news. They didn't want to make the people go into this panic mode. So they kind of like controlled it. But if you look at the international news, things that came out from the international website were numbers. And the kind of numbers that you're looking at, that is going to be like, okay, and because we study mathematics, right, statistics, right, it's going up, and you kind of like project it in your mind.
Yes.
It's gonna go there, and it kind of can project it. It's gonna go like where, right? That kind of sets that mode of fear, consciously or unconsciously. And I called, and I had this resistance to call my friends because really I didn't want to put my fear into their mind. I kind of like kept it inside.
Yes.
I didn't want to like magnify other people's fears because I didn't know what was going on. I just wanted to be really, really careful about my feelings, about disclosing what I'm going through. I mean, thanks to you, like you told us to your mom, etc. And that was kind of an outlet, But when I called my friends in Europe, they went through the same thing. Hey, girl, don't worry, all of us go in this together. I just want to ask you also, and also thanks to you for sharing what you documented in your journal because it's so important. When you look back, that is going to be a piece of document that you can flash out in the internet, like, hey, this is part of history, and we are going through history,
Yeah.
in our lifetime, in this generation. I also want you to tell us, in the community at that time, what went on that lockdown period. Was it chaotic? It seems like it is chaos because like people are going in and out of the shops. They're trying to like hoard as much things as possible. Because they don't know how long it's going to be. It could be 2 weeks. It could be a month. They just want to be safe. They took as much as possible. Describe that period in the community.
I think I can only speak about what I've heard. I haven't witnessed anything. But prior to that, my mom went to Costco to stock up on all the meat and went to stock up on all of the stuff that they wanted. She prepared 2 weeks ago when this virus started hitting the news here in my area. Uh, and within my neighborhood, we were night people or we were day workers and we only had time at night. Other people in this neighborhood were able to get their groceries done earlier in the day, so I haven't seen the chaos of them loading or unloading. I only saw the chaos that my family had.
And the pictures.
Yeah, and the pictures. That's all I was able to focus on. And I think the pandemic provided a sense of tunnel vision where you only focused on what you had to prioritize, which is yourself, your health, and your family. And you ignored everything else. Whether my neighbors were going through the chaos or not, I don't know. Right now, fortunately, I see my neighbors; they're all
Absolutely.
in good health. It doesn't seem like they're in a sense of chaos, but the only thing that I can say is that everyone did end up getting frustrated with the transition to working at home. I have a neighbor who works with another school district, and she she doesn't like using technology. She's one person who likes to be outdoors all the time. And then she has a husband who wants to be able to enjoy his time at home, and then that balance and clash. It's just frustrating. Everyone's frustrated at this point. But at that time, I couldn't see the chaos because I only prioritized the chaos within my household, not what everyone else was.
But there is something in the air, right? The kind
Yes,
of
there,
tension
yes,
in the
there was
community, in the
tension.
outside. Can I also ask, like, were there people who like protested? Because at that time there were news from the US coming out that people after a couple of days they were okay with the quarantine or self-isolation for a while, but after like 2 weeks the people just came out, and people were in the street and people were protesting because they say that my job is important, etc., etc. What was it real to you, or was it what that did not hit your community?
That I don't think that hit my community
Yeah.
because I live in a residential area where most of the people were either retired
Yeah.
or it was easier for them to transition to working online, or they're working essential jobs, working at grocery stores, or working in hospitals, or working at fast food restaurants or restaurants overall. And that tension was there, but I did not witness or see any of the protesting. The only protesting that I started observing happened late May, because initially the lockdown was 2 weeks, then it got pushed back to 3 months, which was maybe May or June, and then it kept getting pushed back, or the regulations that my area had was being different than everyone else. And
Can I just clarify a point before you go into it? What that means, there was official announcements that
mhm,
this is going to prolong to from 2 weeks to possibly 3 months. It's an
yes,
official announcement.
yes,
I see.
yes, it
So
was
how
an
did y'all take it
announcement.
at that time?
I took it in a sense of, okay, I'm not going to do anything
Yeah.
anymore. I'm not going to go out on dates anymore. I am going to be stuck at home with my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, and my grandma. And
Okay.
oh my gosh, I'm going to get bored.
Okay. Tell me about school, because there are family members in your household who are school-going people.
Hmm.
Um, uh, So there was a school lockdown too, closed,
Yes,
I should say, closed down school. Tell
yes.
us how it was done, in what kind of phases, and tell us um, about the people in your family who reacted to that.
So the school had sent out several emails.
Mm.
Every school is different. The district that I was in, they sent out an email maybe the beginning of the week where they announced the possible lockdown. I
15th
guess
of March. Yeah.
yeah, in the middle of March, beginning of March, where they were saying, pay attention to these factors, start being careful, don't share pens. I'm a tutor, so I always had people come to me to help them with their homework or something like that, and I would share pens. At that point, we were kind of hesitant, but the same day that I told you, the World Organization declared coronavirus as a global pandemic, which was March 11th. they announced that schools were going to close for about 2 weeks. And during those 2 weeks, they're going to figure out whether they're going to move remotely, teach remotely. And if so, people who have to teach remotely have to either be up to date to the technology or learn how to teach remotely. And or the only possible students who can be on campus have to be the ones that are necessarily on campus, whether it is like a fitness class or a science lab. I think we're the ones that were the exception. But during those 2 weeks, the school sent out several surveys asking whether we had the technology to study at home, whether we had the resources to have internet at home. And if we didn't, here were companies that were gonna give us Wi-Fi for free for X amount of time, 3 months, let's say. And if we didn't have a computer at home, because a lot of the students in the district that I work with and go to school at, they are low income students that probably don't have that and use the school to get technology. They had to go reach out to the school to borrow technology, and the process of that was very delayed and very, but I want to say that the response for that was fantastic because they were able to get the students the help and resources they needed to be able to continue their studies. The school was also adjusting, allowing students to drop classes if they were not able to, and they didn't charge them for that. So that the school was very accepting in that sense. For my district, and for my sister, on the other hand, her school is more on the scientific and engineering field, so they had already expectations that they know how to use technology. Most of the teachers are younger, so they were able to quickly adapt. And for her, the frustration was just having to be on the computer almost 24/7 to be in class, to do her studies, and to submit her homework.
When you say do, because she's kind of like an essential student, so she did it in school.
Yes, originally she had done most of her studies at school, but the classes that she was taking wasn't necessarily essential enough for her to continue going to school. So she was able to do the classes at home.
So that means during this 3 month period, people had to readjust to either doing it in a home or in the school. Um,
Yes,
like your sister and yourself as a tutor, um, I mean, it sounds that it's really moving very smoothly because you know a school has a system, right? Classes, teachers, there's this hierarchy that okay, this is
yes,
going to be done. So it's very systematic and it was in a way successful.
yes,
And this thing went on for like actually 2 weeks. Then it went on to 3 months. Was there
yes.
a fatigue that set in?
I want to say that a month into doing this, all
Yeah,
of the teachers and all of the students were very fatigued
yeah,
by having to sit in front of the computer all the time
yeah.
and having to put up with the lack of knowledge or training,
Mm.
because the district that I worked for, most of the teachers are older, close to retiring, not very used to technology. I think one or two teachers actually didn't even have a computer at their home and didn't know how to use the technology, that they had to find a way to get access to a computer, get access to the internet for their home, and try to learn the software that they have to learn. And I fortunately was a tutor for one of the professors who had that situation. And I was very constantly communicating via email. They knew how to email, but they didn't know how to use Canvas, which is the software we use. They didn't know how to use Zoom. And it was, everyone was confused, everyone was lost, everyone missed the interaction with each other. And it just, they felt more exhausted because they had to keep their cameras on all the time. And after a while, Some people realize that you don't need to keep your camera on all the time because you find a way to keep looking at yourself on Zoom. And if you look at yourself for 8 hours straight, you're going to get tired and you want to walk away from yourself. So
Walk away
everyone,
from yourself.
yeah, and you can't.
And I like the way you put it that, after a while you became just tunnel vision.
Yes.
You became just so focused on yourself and your family, you forgot about the community. And I like the way
Yes.
you really put across that the priority was taking care of yourself and your family, and the rest didn't really matter. And of course, the other thing that mattered was your job, right? Like
Mhm.
job as a student or job as a teacher, job as a worker, and then that kind of like made you into the tunnel vision. I think that kind of epitomizes a lot of the people going through the pandemic because when they go into a lockdown mode, right?
Yeah.
What do you have? You have the four walls plus all the chaos in the house,
Yes.
plus all that the heap of that rubbish, the dump, and however your house is being managed. Did that part of the thing, right, pile into the mind, and how did people get going when the mind became um, closed in, like the wall like is coming onto you? How did
Yep.
you manage as a teacher? Because as a tutor, because you had to manage your classes, your teaching, plus your family, and plus this technology that even though you are able to handle, and thank God that you were able to handle.
Mhm.
I'm not able to handle it, but thank God for me that I didn't have to really like work. Um, Tell me, did that caving in pile onto your mind that one day you just wanted to kind of like scream inside your head?
That was every day for me. I wanted to scream every day. I wanted to cry. I wanted to pull my own hair out all the time because how
Wow.
stressed I was. But I was
Yeah.
also so tired of staring
Yeah.
at a screen and dealing with so much noise because in the beginning of the pandemic for work or school, everyone was asking so many questions. What's going to happen? What are we going to do? When are we going to get answers? It was a constant state of uncertainty that no matter how many times I repeated answers that we don't know what's going on, we're going to get an email when we figure out what's going to happen. We're going to right now, this is what we're doing. We're trying to cope. This is all we can do. I was as transparent as I could be at work, for school, everything else, and I checked in with everyone. The good thing is that we are in a time period where there's so much technology and so many other ways to communicate that my coworkers created a Discord server where we can just communicate and kind of have a place to separate ourselves from work to have fun. And we set up situations where we would probably meet on Zoom or play video games remotely,
Yeah.
whether it is through PC or some other way. We try to create a sense of normalcy
Yeah.
because
Fantastic.
it was hard. It was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
hard. And
Yeah.
there was a time period where we were all isolated from each other without any form of communication because we didn't have each other's emails, we didn't have each other's phone numbers, and we didn't have a way to communicate. And then once their supervisor got in touch with all of us and got into a Zoom meeting with all of us, we exchanged phone numbers, exchanged emails, and got onto that Discord server where we were able to just chat and create the
And vent your
com-
frustration, the pent
yes,
up
we vented our
frustration.
frustrations and
Yeah.
we were able to reestablish the community we had at work but
Yeah.
from home.
Yeah. But if your colleague hadn't done that, can you imagine um how a pressure cooker, that unseen pressure cooker that is being built up in the mind? And that's why a
Yeah,
lot of people actually break down during this period. Have you heard?
I know that there's a lot of people very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I personally have not seen anyone who has reacted in any way as far as that goes, but I know that it is a lot. And I think as the pandemic happens and as time passes, we try to find a way to cope or try to find another outlet for us.
Okay.
For me, I started playing video games. I never played video games before. I needed a distraction. So my distraction was video games. But before that, I used to read. But because I was constantly reading and because I was constantly doing something else, it wasn't giving me the satisfaction that I wanted anymore. So I turned to video games where I can kill things instead and like vent my frustrations.
Kill things. Okay. Two more questions.
Mhm.
People who are logging in right now, tuning in to talk about life. We have Kimberly from the US, who has detailed very clearly, in descriptive terms, what went on with her life that could kind of like epitomizes a lot of people all over the world. But you have actually done it in such eloquent, clear manner, in the way you speak, in the way you describe that. I thank you once again. I just want to ask you two more questions. Number one, what do you foresee is going to happen? What's going to happen to your community? What's going to happen to your country? Um, one is what you can see is going to happen in reality, and what you hope to see. All right, reality and hopes are different, right? And then
Yes.
tell us, um, how did your house, because you're saying there's a lot of arrangements, right, in
Hmm.
your house to get into that mode. And tell us, how do you all keep yourself functioning? I like that part whereby I hope that you can describe how you all keep yourself functioning from now on, and give us some tips, because it is something that is incredible. You've got like 6 adults in a household in 3 rooms, living for the
Yep.
last 7 to 8 months, and trying to cope with all these things that you are saying. That I wanted to say in detail because you're so eloquent in your description. Okay, these two questions tell us.
Okay, I will start off with the question of what I foresee happening and what I hope to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I foresee people getting very excited. If the pandemic ends, we don't know what's going to happen, but I see people getting excited and probably start getting really reckless, and I foresee
Any
chaos
reckless
happening.
chaos
Uh,
happening?
um, we've seen here in the United States, we've seen multiple waves of chaos. Some because of the pandemic, some because of just human rights as it is, and I won't touch about that right
Yeah.
now,
Okay.
just because
Yeah.
we're also in a state of chaos with the political election that we're currently trying to deal with. But there's waves of chaos, and I just see that there is going to be a big sense of celebration, but it's going to end up chaotic. That's how I foresee it. But I tend to have this mentality where things turn out for the worst. I don't know why, I just do.
It's like another wave. You're saying that there's
Yes.
going to be another wave. Tell us how your house organizes itself and sustain itself. You know, because you're saying that you all reorganize. Can you describe, not on a
Okay.
conceptual level, but in a way that you can give some tips to the people. Tell us at least 3 things you all organize yourself to sustain yourselves.
We try to put things into boxes and play Tetris in with furniture. So what we do, right next to me, I have this shelf, and I try to stack as many things as possible to get them out of the way to be able to set up this foldable desk that I have, because right in front of me, you won't be able to see it, but right in front of me I have a bed. Because there's 3 adults in one room, there's 3 beds in one room and a little bit of space to set anything up. I'm using a dining chair and a foldable desk, literally legs and a plank of wood pretty much propped up on a lap desk. Try to use whatever you can and try to uh, see if there's a way for you to put it away. So for me, it's foldable in the sense that I can make it flat and hide it behind a couch where it's just maybe this thick. So it's easy for me to set up, but it's frustrating because it makes noise when I have to set it up in the morning and put it away at night. Um, I guess another thing is use what you have. We have counter space and we have a dining table that wasn't being used, and we make the dining table a desk for, I know it's supposed to sit 6 people, but we use it for 2 people to focus on their studies while I have this foldable desk. and try to find a way how you can store your stuff. We use every space possible. We don't have proper bookshelves, so we put the books in boxes and probably put them into storage space. We try to always look through what it is that we have and get rid of anything we don't need so we can try to make up the space another way. I have this closet behind me. There's 3 adults sharing this closet, and it's either find another way to fold your clothes to make the most out of your drawer space and closet space, or so you can move any unnecessary furniture or any unnecessary things into somewhere else where you don't need it.
And really, because right now, the things that is in the office have to be moved to the home. The things that are
Yes.
in the school have to be moved in the home, right? Suddenly, you
Yes.
have this clutter of things that you need to organize. Um, is there new procedures that you all say, hey, the family sits down together? Okay, guys, this is what we're going to do on Monday, Tuesday. Is there a procedure that people follow, a schedule that keep things in line?
I think the only procedure we have is if you are in class, put a sign that says you are in class, so
Oh,
we are considerate. I think one we made a sign that will be hung on a chair like this or on a door in a different room that we can just flip on and off, kind of like a book. So for example, say I hang this journal on the chair and I just lift this like
yeah,
this,
yeah.
it will say a sign, I am in class, please don't make noise. And it's right in the entrance. So if someone from outside is working and they come in and they see that the sign says I am in class, they try to be as quiet as possible. Or we have written down our schedules, but in a way where we can all see it. And if we forget that someone is in class, because sometimes we forget to adjust that
Of course,
sign, we
of
can
course.
go straight into the kitchen where everyone's gonna pass by there to grab water for something, and we can see each other's schedules. Or sometimes we would send each other a text message and ask, "Hey, are you in class? Can we make noise?" Usually, if someone is sitting in front of a computer like I am, we are going to assume that they are doing something for school or work, because when you're
Wow.
done with that, you don't want to be in front of the computer. You are
Yeah, and
tired of
and
being.
and I applaud you guys. I applaud you guys because you guys are so considerate for each other, and that it's not easy at all to be
No.
able to like keep within that lane, and that lane is getting smaller, and a
Yes, it is.
physical living lane, which is physiologically you're getting small, and
Yes.
mentally you're getting small, like the tunnel gets
Yeah.
smaller and the vision gets smaller, and to live in there in a sane manner, my God, it's like, can you please send my regards to your family, like clap and like thumbs up, like 100 thumbs up. Okay, now to conclude, I hope this conversation doesn't conclude, as I would like you to invite you again to
Okay.
share with the world. This is really, to me, it's like, it's big deal. We're in history. It's big
Yes.
deal. It can be in a book. And I really want you to come back again, and some of the questions that I hope we can explore and share with the world. Uh, Again, and I mean it, probably like next week or so. And next is that, to conclude, um, how are you going to sustain, um, if the WHO says we're at a 50% point of the pandemic, and Dr.
Oh no.
Fauci says that, hey, the vaccine is going to come out, but we don't know its effectiveness, and that's not going to end the pandemic. So
Yeah.
the magic one, um, maybe loses its magic. We hope the magic one is going to come. So
Yeah.
for the next, if we are in a 50% point of this curve, how do you foresee your family is going to cope?
I I think I've had this conversation with my sister. I think within the next year I'm moving out. Just to get a bigger space, just to be able to get that sense of privacy, because I I love my family. I will give my life for them if I have to. But there's only
Sanity
so much you can
or
handle.
sanity.
Yeah, for sanity. I think the good thing, I guess the only thing that I could say that I would cope is either get another dog so I can distract myself more, or find a way just to leave the house a couple hours, because I've gotten to this point where I'm tired of being at home 24/7. Uh, Going to the store is not cutting it anymore. I might need to just go out for a drive with the windows down, maybe drive to a beach just to clear my head. And I think adding a sense of that once in a while can be very therapeutic
Important.
and very helpful. I think out of everyone in this household, with the exception of my grandmother, has left the house for longer periods of time for work or to see their significant other. I don't have a significant other. I don't have a valid excuse to leave the house. So, coming up with some sense of self care outside of the home would be a thing that I would
It's
probably
essential.
end up
It's
including.
absolutely essential to really like,
Yes.
I think even if you were to move out, you're helping other people because you're giving up a space.
Yeah.
You look at it that way. Instead of like three beds, now the room has got just two beds. You're helping another person if you think it that way.
Yeah.
And in that way, you are telling them you love them because you're giving them
Yeah.
that space that they really need when they couldn't even move out. Because
Yeah.
you are an independent woman, you've got your income coming in,
Mm.
right? Can you think of people who do not have an income? They can't even like move out. So I think with that conclusion, I want to thank Kimberly so much, not because I want you to go, but because I think this wraps up a 1 hour and 10 minute of our conversation, which I'm going to chop it up into like 2 or 3 episodes. But I
Mm-hmm.
would really sincerely want you to come back to share with Singaporeans, people in the world, now or forever, because it's going to be out there in for time mortality, right?
Yeah.
Immortality. It's going to be a document for history. I would like to invite you back. But hey, guys, people who are tuning in to the podcast, to your podcast, to my podcast, to my YouTube channel, this is a very important period of history. It's not understated, or it can't be overstated. It can't be overstated that this is a point in history. So thank you once again, Kimberly, for sharing with us the pandemic in the community, what went on in her mind. She shared her journal. She shared the chaos that came in after the announcement, and she shared the current situation and the past 7 to 8 months that has happened. And she's sharing what's her vision that is going to happen, and her hopes and aspiration for what's to come, and also her certain standard of procedures that happen within the organization of the home that keep our home safe. And these are some tips that people can take away. Thank you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for having me.